Okay, we are live. How you guys doing? This is Rich from Rich TV Live here with Setti Coscarella, and we are live on YouTube. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything you would like to know directly from myself or Setti Coscarella, the CEO of Taat Lifestyle and Wellness, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
And what brings you to Vancouver? Anything, you guys working on anything? Anything you can tell us about?
Well, a couple things. So some of my team members are in Vancouver. I'm based in Toronto, so it was always good to come out, spend some time with them, work on some strategy. And we're just closing off the final pieces of our private placement. So we're meeting with a number of different brokers and money managers, telling them the story. And the reception so far has just been tremendous.
Wow.
At first people started asking some questions, trying to get a better understanding. It was funny. I had a call earlier this morning, and one of the brokers asked, "So you're just another hemp cigarette company, right?" And I said, "Yeah, we're another hemp cigarette company, just like Beyond Meat's another veggie burger."
Yeah, exactly. And didn't Beyond Meat go from like what, a few dollars to over over $200?
Oh yeah,
because of the new technology, right?
Right. And I think it's the same thing here. It's not about creating a hemp cigarette to go after a hemp cigarette market, which, look, it's not an inconsequential market. It's probably worth about $100 million now, and it's growing at a reasonable pace every year. But the taste profiles are completely different. I think the consumer base is completely different. And for us, we want to make sure that we have the right product for the tobacco consumer, because that's the market we're going after. I mean, that's the market that's 1.5 billion people, and they have particular tastes, and we want to make sure that our product is able to match those tastes in a way that and deliver the product in a way that they're comfortable having it.
Now, the news that you guys just reported was pretty massive. So you guys have test products in America right now that are being tested.
Yep.
The first round, 75% of the products got sold out. The second round, 100% of the products got sold out.
Yep.
And now they want to reorder 200% of the product.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Were you expecting those types of results? Is that
with a product like this? Yes.
Okay.
I
thought that was pretty exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Right.
I think we can do a lot more than some people might think we can at first blush. And when they hear my thought process on the strategy and how I want to deploy this product and how I want to market it and all of the advantages that we have given the regulatory structure, it quickly becomes the biggest no-brainer you've ever heard. So I'm happy that the product was able to sell through as quickly as it does, because it just reinforced my opinion on it from the get-go, which is the main reason why I decided to leave Philip Morris and come here, because I see what the opportunity is. I think we have the right team in place to execute on it. And come November, when we actually launch the product, I think it's lights out.
Now, we have a couple questions here from the group. Are they allowed to advertise?
Yes. So unlike tobacco, there's a number of different things that we can do in terms of advertising and marketing the product. So I think that really provides us a strong competitive advantage. The key thing that we need to remember, and if I take a step back for a second, you take a look at a company like Juul, right?
Yeah.
So Juul found itself in a similar regulatory structure that we do when they launched in 2015. So they didn't have the same regulations as tobacco. They were able to market freely, and they took full advantage of it, which is, listen, it's a smart strategy. I have the entire playbook for Juul, and we'll leverage it as best we can because it worked. Now, where Juul ran a little bit afoul is they started doing advertising to a demographic they shouldn't have, like teenagers. They were running ads on Nickelodeon and Teletoon. They were going into
trying to sell cigarettes to teenagers.
They were going into junior high schools under the guise of, we're here to help educate students on the hazards of smoking. When the teacher would leave the room, they'd show the students a Juul.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything like that. That's intense.
Right. Wow. And listen, it's a bit of a dirty trick, but
wow.
Then they get marched up to Congress, because the problem when you do stuff like that is it pisses off moms, and then moms call their Congress people. And then Congress people obviously want to get reelected, so they listen to the moms, then they start doing something about it, and then all of a sudden Jewel gets marched up to Capitol Hill and has to justify why they were doing advertising on Nickelodeon and going into junior high schools.
That's crazy.
So having a strong understanding of what worked, but also a keen eye to where to stay away, I think our ability to market and commercialize this product is second to none.
Wow, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the members here is asking, how can we get test packs? Is there a way to get test packs to anyone, or?
Yes. So we're going to complete a manufacturing deal in the coming weeks with a company that I had a bit of a relationship with when I was at Philip Morris. So I think once we're able to complete that, we'll start launching a portal where people can sign up to learn more. And when they sign up, you give us their information, we'll be able to send them a pack.
That's great. So see that, guys? If you guys would like to be a part of that, just email me, guys, richtvlive@gmail.com. I'll make sure that Setti gets it and he can be in contact with you guys, and we can arrange a way to get you guys some test packs, and maybe you guys will be able to do a testimonial for us and tell us what you think about the product.
Right. And that would really be great, right? I think that kind of endorsement goes a long way within people's community. When you can get the product to real people who really use it and they tell you their real opinion, I think that speaks volumes. So absolutely, always happy to hear consumer feedback. And we can always use that to further refine the product, make improvements, or just know that we've got the formulation right to make the most number of people happy.
Now, we have a lot of questions coming in here. One of the questions is, are you selling on the East Coast? Now, I know you're not selling anywhere in Canada.
No,
correct?
not yet.
So it's only in America, and I believe it's in the 50 stores, the 50 test locations?
The locations now are in Nevada and Southern California.
Okay.
So that's where our production facility is. So we wanted to use a test market in a place that was close to where we were processing. So that way it just makes it easier to get it onto the shelves. We've got some good relationships with retailers there. And what that helps us do is, I mean, when you get a good relationship with a retailer, they're the ones that are the people helping to drive the purchasing decision of their customers. Now, there's almost 400,000 points of sale in the US. I can't have a good relationship with 400,000 different operators. Which is why, as you start to commercialize, you have to build the right marketing initiatives to help the product get off of the shelf. But for the test period, I think it was great because we were able to get product into consumers' hands. They used it, they loved it, they were coming back and reordering, and that really sort of helps me understand that we're on the right path with the product, and should be ready to go for November.
Very good. Now, hey Dylan, how you doing? Dylan Fraser, one of our longtime members, asking, how do you keep up with this demand? People are asking for more and more and more. How are you going to be able to keep up with the demand? I know you guys can do 1 million sticks a day. Is that enough to be able to keep up the demand that?
No, our new manufacturing partner has the capacity to do 1,000 sticks a minute.
Oh, wow. 1,000 sticks a minute.
Yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
And they've got a couple of machines. So
wow.
I don't really worry about being able to keep up with the demand at this point. If people want our product, we'll make sure they're able to get it.
That's huge. That's huge. Okay. What are the challenges, if any, to have Taat products sell in 7-Eleven and major gas station chains?
So the initial strategy, once we launched, there's basically two approaches that I'm looking at. First is going to be an online program. So I want to build a subscription service because I think this product lends itself extraordinarily well to a DTC model. So right to the consumer, they can order. It's a consumable. If they want to order 1 carton a month, 2 cartons a month, 3 cartons a month, we'll have the options. They can do it, and we'll be able to cover the vast majority of the United States through our e-commerce efforts. Now, in addition to that, we're also going to take a look at 3 or 4 brick and mortar markets where we'll launch the product and do the proper marketing initiatives to make sure that we can get the product on physical shelves, that consumers in that market know that it's available, that they're educated on the product, and then do all the initiatives to get the product off of the shelf and actually build out the consumer journey in those markets. So the capital raising that we're doing now should be sufficient for us to execute all of that. On the back of that, I think we end up going back to the market, show them the results that we're able to do exactly what I said we're able to do. I think at that point, the valuation becomes much different than it is now. And then we'll look at raising a much larger round so that we can go and commercialize throughout the United States. Now, to answer the question, it's not as easy as people think to get onto 7-Eleven or the convenience store chains. If it was, then you'd have literally 1,000 people lining up. I mean, they get pitched new product ideas 100 times a day.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I think our product is uniquely positioned as something that they would find appealing, because as a company, I think our overarching goal is to help rid the world of a nicotine addiction by giving smokers a product that they will actually use, and then by using it, wean themselves off of nicotine. So you can give the power back to the consumer, whether or not they actually want to smoke, which I think is a very powerful message and is in line with a lot of regulations. And I think it's a proposition that larger chains can buy into and understand and believe in. Now, typically the way you try to get into these larger chains, you first start with some of the smaller regional chains, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We can show that there is demand and pull through, and that these consumers want the product. And then when you go to the larger chains, it becomes very easy to sell them a product consumers already want.
Correct.
So
absolutely.
That's the first job that we do. And then as we start building our negotiations with the larger chains, I just think it becomes an easier sell through. And by that point, I think we'll be across the United States.
Wow. Now, I saw some of the photos. You guys were right in between the Marleys.
Yeah.
The Marlboros.
Yeah.
Is that a strategic plan? Is that just the way?
That's how well they were selling.
So they're selling so well, they put them right beside the Marleys because the Marleys are the number one sellers.
Exactly.
Right? Wow.
That was the convenience store that did it.
That's
not us.
huge. That's huge, guys. So the convenience stores have chosen to put them right beside the Marlboros because the Marlboros are the top sellers, and the Taats are obviously selling at just at a fast clip, obviously.
Exactly, and the consumers were coming in and starting to ask for it by name, which as a consumer packaged good company, you can't ask for anything more than that, especially given that we haven't even begun doing the marketing that I'm laying out.
Now, how about the price point? Everyone's asking about the price point.
Mm-hmm.
Are your prices competitive? Are they less? Are they more? How would you compare your pricing?
I'm going to ensure that when we launch in a market, we will be the cheapest, if not one of the cheapest manufactured cigarette options available.
Wow, that's huge. That's the biggest thing right there. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's price point, right?
Exactly. So
you gotta have a good experience. It has to smell like a cigarette, taste like a cigarette, look like a cigarette. Obviously, it is a cigarette, but it doesn't have the nicotine. And then on top of that, you're gonna make it cheaper. I like the way that sounds.
Exactly. So listen, for us to effectively go out and try to solve this problem of nicotine addiction, you have to make the product accessible to the widest number of smokers. So if I created a product that was going to be more expensive than a cigarette, then there's a significant percentage of smokers that wouldn't be able to afford it. And that's not really what we're about. We want to make sure that every single smoker has access to this product. So we try to put it in markets at a price point that would be cheaper, so that not only can we help save them money, but we can give them a better choice as well. That's
great. Now, when is your earnings date? Are you guys close to your earnings date?
I think our year end is December 31st, so it's calendar year end.
Okay.
I wouldn't focus on earnings to start. I mean, one thing that I'll tell you about the tobacco industry, although we do quite well when it comes to
profitability.
Yeah, I don't worry about how Philip Morris does at the end of the year. We do okay, or they did okay.
Yeah.
But it's not about profit. Like within the business, we never talk about profit. The only thing we ever talk about is market share, because that's what drives profitability. So in the beginning, it's an exercise in going out and trying to capture as much market share as we possibly can. With that, then comes the ability to get your price in line and manufacturing costs even lower, and profitability comes from there.
Scale.
It's just scale.
Scale from there.
It's scale.
And the biggest thing is really to have the distribution in place, which you guys have.
Yes.
You have the distribution in place. You need to have a product that people want, which you have. You need to have a price that people can afford, which you have.
And the ability to promote, which we have.
So really, I mean, what's missing?
I guess we should call ourselves the 4 Ps, huh?
Well, there was a question here about raising capital. So you talked about it. You need to raise some capital to continue to move forward with your production goals.
Right. In order to seed the markets properly that we're going to launch the product in, so on the brick and mortar side especially, obviously that costs money.
Yeah.
So at the stage we are now, which is effectively pre-revenue, we're going out and raising some capital so that we'd be able to go out and do exactly what it is that we need to do and bring on the right people to help us do it.
Now, you guys have a very tight share structure. So being that the company's done well out of the chute, the stock has gone up. Obviously, raising capital with a tight flow and a share price that's reasonably high should be decent. You shouldn't have to do too much dilution, because there's some questions here about, will that dilute the stock?
No, it's not material enough in the grand scheme of things. I mean, the company right now is valued at approximately almost $70 million. We're raising $3 million.
Okay, so you're only raising $3 million. So yeah, at these prices, it would be like 4 or 5 million shares, something along those lines. Am I around those lines? Exactly. If we're at these prices. So that wouldn't be a big deal, because I think you guys are at 69 million shares issued and outstanding. Mm-hmm. So that would take you to maybe 75 million. So exactly, still be right? Really tight.
But you really have to look at it this way. I mean, dilution comes into play if we were effectively a utility and we weren't growing. I mean, we raise the capital, and the value that capital is going to add in the long term is significantly greater than any marginal dilution anyone would experience. Right? If we were a company that was flatlining on growth and we were making a few $100 million a year, and that was that, okay, you might take a look at it from a dilution standpoint. But I mean, the growth on this is extraordinary. In order to attain that growth, from time to time, you're going to have to raise some capital.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason why companies go public, right?
Right.
And the number one reason why companies go public is to raise capital.
Well, if we didn't need to do it, I wouldn't have gone public.
You would have stayed private.
Well, exactly.
Absolutely. So now you guys are getting a lot. I know, being in Canada, we're getting a lot of people asking why you're not in Canada. Can you explain a little bit about why we can't be in Canada?
Sure. So the biomass that we use for Taat currently is a hemp-based formulation. Now, in the United States, hemp is an unregulated product. It'd almost be the equivalent of selling potato chips. Okay. Now, in Canada, on the other hand, the hemp plant is governed and regulated under the Cannabis Act. So selling hemp in Canada would be the equivalent of selling any cannabis-based THC product. So it would need to be sold by a licensed producer and then sold through a licensed retailer, and then the government agencies get involved. So it becomes a little bit more cumbersome.
Yeah.
And the distribution that we have in Canada isn't as wide and great as it is in the United States, at least on the licensed retailer side. So the initial strategy for me, obviously, is to go after the United States. As we are commercializing the United States, I think we'll spend some time looking at how we can effectively partner or do business with an LP in Canada, and then look at whether it makes sense to distribute. But listen, I mean, Canada is obviously my home country, so I'd absolutely like to see the product on the shelf here. We just need to make sure that it makes sense from a business standpoint.
Absolutely. That's great. Great answer. Where do you see Taat next year?
Where do I see Taat next year? Well, by November, we'll have the product launched. We'll be in select brick and mortar markets. We'll have access to the majority of the United States through our DTC model. By next year, I would expect us to have raised a secondary round of capital that'll inject between 15 and 20 million into the company. With that, we would be spending most of our time looking at the learnings we took from the initial brick and mortar markets, building out the right consumer journey and deploying throughout the rest of the United States. So I'm hopeful that by the end of next year, we'll be in the vast majority of the US and start getting distribution into chains.
Wow. That's big. That's a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm.
How about in the next 5 to 10 years? Can you look that far ahead?
Sure. So as we start commercializing throughout the United States, then obviously you start looking at international expansion. Now there's a few key markets, I'm not going to tell you which ones, but I know which ones, that I would look at specifically for international expansion, where this product I think would perform extraordinarily well, and we'd be able to price it at a point where both consumer and investor would be ecstatic.
And I think there's a very good chance that this gets bought out in 5 to 10 years. There's a chance, right? It could be a bio target.
Look, I mean, there's always a chance for that. I mean, it happened at least to some degree with Juul, where Altria within 3 years bought 35% for $12.5 billion, so it valued it at just shy of $40 billion. That took 3 years. So Juul launched in 2015. That happened in 2018. Like, I'm not going to tell you that will be $40 billion in 3 years, but maybe I'm a 10th right or half right or something. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be great. How big can Taat get? Sky's the limit, right?
Well, theoretically, in capital markets, there's really no limit in terms of
look at Tesla, right? It just hit 2,000 a day.
You know what kills me about Tesla? Elon Musk sends out a tweet that he thought it was overvalued at 700.
I know, right? And now it goes up another 200%.
Like,
the brilliance of that man, call him whatever you want. He's the 4th richest man in the world right now.
Yeah. It was funny. I saw this interview with Charlie Munger at Berkshire Hathaway, and somebody asked him about Tesla and Elon Musk. He goes, I got 3 things to say about him. I would not buy the stock. I would not sell it short.
Yeah.
And never underestimate a man who overestimates himself.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's going to outer space, right?
He's going to colonize Mars.
Yeah,
He's doing stuff that...
This guy's going outer space.
I mean,
he made the electric vehicle cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He made it like, I remember when the electric vehicle started, everyone was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. He made it like the cool thing.
Sure. He basically did a cross between a Maserati and an Aston Martin.
Yeah. And then he goes...
Who's not going to like that?
Then he goes and he breaks the window and it works.
Yeah.
It goes to his advantage. He goes and does this whole presentation about the bulletproof windshield.
Yeah.
And then throws this metal
brick,
through the windshield and it breaks. And then he's like, oh, I guess that didn't work. I guess we got to keep working on a prototype. And then the stock goes even higher. I'm like, this guy can't lose.
Teflon Don.
This guy can't lose. It's unbelievable.
I mean, honestly, the guy is, I think he's a genius. But more so than just having really smart ideas, he has the wherewithal to go and actually do it. And I think that's probably what I respect about him more than anything, because you can have great ideas. Anybody can have great ideas, but it really takes something special to go out and make it happen.
Yeah, execute it.
Right.
I'm going to make an electric vehicle, and he does. They're everywhere.
Like, there's an interview with him, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago. I mean, he still looks like a kid, saying that he's going to manufacture rockets and supply NASA with it. And like, at the time, everybody's laughing at him. Like, You're not even, like, what are you even talking about?
And now he's got the Cybertruck.
And now he supplies NASA with rockets. The guy had no training. He's not a rocket scientist, but somehow, he got it done.
He's one of those guys that when he sets a goal, he achieves it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he sets a goal and he attains it. And it doesn't matter how big the goal is. At this point, you can't ever say that Elon can't do something.
No, and honestly, I think part of the power that he has is he's had enough success that he believes he can do anything too.
Yeah.
And that's really the majority of it. Like, if you can't believe you can do it, nobody else is going to believe you can do it, and you're not going to rally the support, and you're not going to get to where you need to go. And I mean, not to kind of tie it back into here, it's the same sort of thing.
Totally.
I believe I know where to go with this, and I believe what this product can do. And the more people that I talk to, the more people that understand the vision that I have and where I think this company can go, the more success it ends up breeding. Even when I have my conversations with distributors and I explain to them how I want to position this product. And I had one the other day, and this guy's been in the industry for 25 years. He's like, oh my God, finally somebody who gets it. He's like, yes. Yeah,
I mean, it's been going on for so long. The fact that you guys are really, coming in here and disrupting the industry is massive.
I think so.
Like, there's nobody out there doing what you guys are doing.
No, I haven't seen, again, I always like to kind of go back to Juul because I think they did a great job, but I haven't seen a product achieve the success of something like Juul in this particular industry in a very, very long time. So, the more that we can learn from successes, I think the easier the path becomes.
Steven says, I really like a test pack of Taat to give to my good friends that are trying to quit smoking.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in America, just email me and then I'll forward it over to Setti and then we can try to arrange for you guys to get a test pack.
Sure.
So just email me at richtvlive@gmail.com and we'll try to arrange for you guys to get that, okay? Mm-hmm. Is there any coming events in the future? Any events you guys are planning?
Like
corporate events, large events?
Well, listen,
launches?
Yeah, look, one of the strategies I would have employed by now is experiential marketing, event-based marketing. but given COVID, that I think becomes a little challenging to execute on.
Absolutely.
But that being said, while we might not be able to do that kind of marketing right now, it definitely is something that I'll be looking at doing once things kind of settle down
Get
again
back to normal.
and get back to normal, because it's a very important piece and it's an experiential product.
Totally.
Right. So you have to get out there. You have to show people what it is. You have to get it in their hands, get them to use it. And the thing that I've seen with this product, especially with people that I've had try it, I know that it has the capacity to speak for itself. Like I gave it to somebody a little while ago, smokes almost 2 packs a day. He had 3 of these, and then he just sits there after 5 minutes and he goes, "Wow, I really just like the way I feel now."
Oh wow! Just not that whole drag down feeling that you get from cigarettes.
Exactly. He just felt good. He's like, "I don't feel irritable. I don't feel like I'm sad. I just feel really nice." He's like, "I like this." So
hey,
that to me tells me that once you can get it into a smoker's hands and they start to use it, they will experience the difference themselves.
Totally.
And for a product like this, that's the best endorsement you can have. And that for me is what creates the stickiness with the consumer and the long time use with the consumer. So it won't end up being something like a vape or a heat-not-burn product, where I think the vast majority of consumers might use it for about 6 to 7 months and then end up go back to cigarettes, because the experience is fundamentally different. I think we've got something really interesting here, and once we get it out to the market, I think a lot of smokers will be able to taste the difference as well.
Would you guys ever get into vapes, or are you strictly going to do cigarettes? It's a question from the audience.
It's a good question. I wouldn't run to vapes, especially because of how effective I've seen them be in the long term. Now, that being said, I think that there's other ancillary products we can develop with organic biomass that are growth industries within the traditional tobacco space. So whether it be on the roll your own side, because there's a very active market on the roll your own side. There's also snus. So snus is a different take on chewing tobacco, where they take the tobacco and they put it in, it looks like a small tea pouch.
Yeah.
Put it in your lip and, let it be. Hockey players use it a lot. Actually, a lot of athletes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many
athletes. Kind of like chewing tobacco.
Sort of, without the mess. So you don't have to spit. You don't have to carry, a little bottle and do any of that. Like it's just, for people who like it, it's a very enjoyable experience. Just put it in your upper lip. I don't know if you watch hockey.
Yeah.
Ever seen Alex Ovechkin?
Yeah.
Whenever he scores a goal, he smiles.
Yeah.
He's always got 2 in his upper lip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always wonder I thought it was chewing tobacco.
No.
Okay.
Snus.
Interesting.
So I think there's absolutely a market to look at doing something like that.
Interesting.
And again, it's always an exercise in trying to help consumers overcome an addiction to nicotine. So when we can supply them with, I think, a far better molecule, and they're able to experience it themselves, I really don't see any reason why they would go back.
Now, can Beyond Tobacco take over the traditional tobacco eventually? Is that a possibility?
Sure. I don't see why not. I've seen.
Could you imagine that?
Wow. Sure.
Holy smokes! Hell,
if Elon Musk can imagine colonizing Mars, I can imagine taking over the tobacco industry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's the least I could do.
I mean, it would be a game changer, and it would be enormous for anyone that is obviously involved in Taat now, because we are literally just in the early stages of that.
Well, look, I mean, when you take a look at a lot of the tobacco companies, the vast majority of them are going after. So this is the product that I was working on when I was at Philip Morris. So IQOS, which is a heat-not-burn product, and they're pretty much knees deep in and very pot committed on this particular product and the success of this particular product, to the point where the CEO of Philip Morris has said time and time again that he wants to be out of the business of combustible cigarettes.
Wow.
Right? He's like, no, the future is this and vape and alternative nicotine delivery systems. And they're not unique in that particular thinking. So the way I see it, the vast majority of tobacco companies are looking at alternative ways to deliver nicotine. They're sort of leaving this combustible business behind, but the combustible business makes up this, it's not even significant. It's like the extraordinarily large percentage of the revenue base, and they don't really seem to care about it.
Yeah.
So I'll care.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
So you don't care about your biggest moneymaker?
No, because they want to work on trying to transition smokers from combustible products to any other nicotine delivery system. Where I think they've missed the mark is they're still delivering a very useless drug in nicotine, just repackaging it in a different way. And the vast majority of consumers hate the fact that they're addicted to nicotine. So for smokers that end up going to vape, they tend to notice that their nicotine consumption can actually triple. So they always have this vape in their mouth. Like when I was at Philip Morris and we were trying to sell this product, I would walk to smokers and say, okay, so have you ever tried a vape? And, I'd say about 70, 80% would say, yeah, I've tried a vape. So, okay, well, does it work? The answer is no, because they're still smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you have tried a vape, I only got one question for you. When is it done? And that's the stare I get, right? Because nobody ever asked them that. I'm like, I don't know. Great. So you go outside and it's an all-you-can-vape buffet. Then you go back inside, you still got the vape in your mouth. And then before you know it, you have this thing just dangling from your mouth and you're always sucking on it.
Yeah, you're always on the vape.
And somehow you think this is better for you?
Yeah, exactly. It's worse.
Right.
I've never understood it.
No. And then they end up going back to smoking cigarettes because I just think they prefer that particular experience. So with this product here, we can help you eliminate that nicotine addiction, give you an experience that is exactly the same, if not better, than smoking a cigarette at a price point that's going to be cheaper than what you're already paying for cigarettes.
Like check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark.
Listen, I don't know. I could be 100% wrong.
No, I like it. The people that are here are liking it too. So let's go through some more questions. Dylan Fraser says, I love it when the CEOs have skin in the game. Mm-hmm. Do you own any shares of Taat yourself?
Yeah. So I got some warrants, options, and restricted shares.
Okay. So obviously Setti has got skin in the game with the company.
If I just wanted a salary, I would have stayed at Philip Morris.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously Setti sees the potential here, guys. And there was actually a question, is Philip Morris interested in Taat?
Look, right now, I'm not going to say one way or the other. I don't really have.
Do you talk to them still? Like, do you say, hey guys, I'm here now? Like, do they know?
Oh yeah, they know.
Okay.
The number of calls I get from people that are still there asking if, hey, well, if you ever need somebody, let me know.
How's it going over there? You guys got any breaking news? Let us know how it's going.
Look, at this point, as we're getting off the ground, I mean, it's no different than Juul, right? Like when Juul launched, they weren't on the radar of anybody. And I was probably one of the first people to bring it to the executive team's attention at Philip Morris, thereck in, I think it was 2016, 2017. I said, there's this company that's doing this thing, and I think I might want to take it. It's nothing. Okay.
Wow.
The big tobacco companies really start to pay attention when you're in market, you're gaining share, and you're showing the traction.
Yeah.
Again, it's not even so much about the revenue. Like, yeah, obviously the revenue, it's not the ability to generate revenue, it's the ability to gain market share. And that's why, for me, I want to price it at the price point that I want and get it into market and do the activities that I want, because if you gain market share, you will have revenue, you will have margin, you'll have profitability, you'll have all of these things. And that's really the exercise for me. And if you can show that you can gain share in an industry that nobody's really figured out how to go and gain meaningful share in quite some time, yeah, they pay attention.
Oh yeah, of course. Taat has a lot of goodwill. Do you know why?
Well, through some of the acquisitions that we did, obviously at the time, the share price would have been lower. So to complete the acquisition even of Taat, because the company that is public was in a different business before and then transitioned through an RTO when it bought Taat. So that, I think, added a lot on the goodwill side. But again, as we start to grow, it's really going to be insignificant. It's meaningful now, given
because the company's small.
Right.
But as the company becomes what we think it'll become,
exactly,
it'll be insignificant.
Yeah, I mean, you got to build for the future. You can't just keep looking at where you're at today. Otherwise, that's exactly where you're going to stay.
All right. And we're getting through most of your guys' questions. If you guys have any other questions, please, now is the time to ask. We've been live for quite some time here. Thank you for joining us as well. And
my pleasure.
Is great. This is opening up my eyes and hopefully answering a lot of your guys' questions. Expert Trading says, just another hemp cigarette. Yeah, just another hemp cigarette like Beyond Meat is just another veggie burger. just like you mentioned. So
Yeah.
he's kind of quoting what you said there. Any other questions, guys? Would Taat be able to sell on the Caribbean?
Look, my primary focus initially is to commercialize within the United States. As we're doing that, absolutely, we look at all jurisdictions that would make sense. The Caribbean, as an example, would be a strong area of focus for me. And it would be interesting to get some distribution and access to that market before COVID sort of settles up, because then if you're already there, it becomes definitely a tourist hub, and it basically becomes a hub, right? So tourists will go, they'll see Taat there, they'll buy it, and then they end up going back to their home markets, and it almost seeds the market, right? So that's why the Caribbean is, strategically a smart move from an expansion standpoint. So yeah, for sure, we look at everywhere.
They want to be everywhere.
If they sell Marlboro, I want them to sell Taat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do. I know I have a villa in the Dominican Republic, and every time I go there, I see Marlboros all over the place. Yeah. So I think the Taats would be very popular there. And they also have the menthols a lot.
Yep.
So I think your menthol.
In the heat, sometimes the menthol.
Have you guys seen with your sales, like how much is menthol versus original? Is it 50-50 or 30%? Or do you guys?
Yeah, it's because we also have the tropical in market as well. I'd say it's roughly about a third, but it's a small sample. As we get into larger markets with proper distribution and really start penetrating the brick and mortar, then you'll start to see it even out, that it'll probably end up being a lot closer to the average national rate, which in the US I think is about 25%. So is menthol. So you'll probably end up seeing a similar distribution there. But again, you just put it out into market and you see what sells, and then you adjust your strategy accordingly.
What's the tropical?
Tropical. It's pineapple flavor.
Oh, pineapple flavored cigarettes, guys. You
know
guys
what?
are coming up with some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys are coming with like strawberry and grape, and I like that.
Well, Joe, I mean, his background was in flavoring. So he understands that aspect of the business extraordinarily well. Also understands what consumer preferences, what they like, what they don't like. And it's one of those weird things, like it doesn't sound like a flavor maybe at first blush that you would find appealing, but one of the most popular Jewel flavors was cucumber.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Cucumber. I'd like to try strawberry. I think that would be pretty cool.
I think apple would be good too.
Strawberry, apple, yeah. Lemon.
Yeah.
Like different flavors. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Barbecue sauce.
Hot wings, cigarettes. Hot wings flavored cigarettes. Ketchup, right? Ketchup flavored cigarettes. Who knows, right? In this crazy world.
You never know.
If Elon can take rockets to Mars, right? And
ketchup flavored cigarettes are gonna rule the world.
Cigarettes are gonna be the next $1 billion seller. Cucumber flavored cigarettes, right? Okay, anybody have any other questions here for Setti? Super excited to have you here live. Very good question. Do the products have high, and this was gonna ask you, you're selling for lower, so how's the ROI? Like, do you guys still have a good enough ROI by selling at your price point?
Exactly. So, I mean, one of the advantages that we tend to have is we're not subject to the same excise taxes as tobacco, because the organic base is different. So while selling at a lower price, we should be able to achieve a margin similar to that of a tobacco company anyway, because they also have to pay the tax and we don't.
Oh, there you go. That's great. That comes in handy.
I mean, it gives us a competitive advantage so long as we know how to use it.
Oh, look, Anfo Drew came up with an idea. He says, just an idea. A lot of people smoke and have a coffee together. So maybe an espresso coffee flavored cigarette.
I agree. I've been thinking of that for a while.
Oh, you guys, great minds are thinking alike. Mm-hmm. I like this.
It's weird. There's certain flavors that just kind of pair well. So I think it's something we can definitely explore. And again, like with any new product, like you build it out, you refine it, you get it to a point where you think you're happy with it, you put it in some test markets, you see how it performs. If it does well, then you launch. If it doesn't, then listen, it was a great idea. We had some learnings, and maybe we can refine it to get it to be a little bit more palatable for the market, right? The key in any business is to not get drunk on your own Kool-Aid, because if you do and you don't actually listen to the market, it's the fastest way to fail. The easiest way to succeed, listen to the market, listen to your consumers, and make sure you can get them what it is that they want.
Now, you did mention, before we say goodbye, you mentioned the $5 billion market cap.
Yeah.
And you explained it. $5 billion market cap. And I think we said we're at a 70 million. So there's like huge growth potential to 5 billion.
I said, no, what I said was,
you explained it, right? You broke it down, right?
I said, if we couldn't hit 5 billion, I think it would be a disappointment.
Your goal would be for you that you're
Yeah.
setting for yourself.
I mean, I can't guarantee anybody that we're going to hit 5
billion. You're talking about growing like 100, almost 80 times.
Yeah.
Right?
And listen,
70 million market cap to 5 billion is like 70 times growth.
It is. I don't think it's unreasonable. And if I hadn't worked in the tobacco industry, I probably would have thought that it was ludicrous.
Yeah.
But given the margins that you end up making and the stickiness of the consumer base and just generally how the business is run, I don't think it's something that would be unusual, especially when you compare it to what Juul was able to do in 3 years. I mean, they hit 40 billion,
which is crazy to think about that. 40 billion in 3 years.
So, if I look at our product, I think that our product is better. I think that consumers are going to take to it a lot easier than they would with Juul, right? I mean, when you take a look at smokers in general, or any consumer, I mean, it's not just a function of smoker, right? I mean, most people don't like to be put too far outside of their comfort zone. So, when you take a look at a cigarette versus any other nicotine or alternative nicotine delivery system, so whether it's a vape, heat-not-burn, or whatever it is, you're moving them from one hotel to the other side of the country in terms of experience and ritual and what it is that you have to do. With our product, you're basically taking somebody from your chair to my chair. Which one do you think is going to be easier to adopt?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Right.
Nothing different.
So I'm giving you a way better chair.
Removing nicotine. Yeah, that's it.
With a molecule that ultimately I think can help definitely satiate the cravings a nicotine user would have. Plus, a whole host of other benefits that CBD can impart. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer. And again, that's why I decided to come. Yeah,
I think we're, as investors, I think there's a lot of members here that are very excited about the company. People talking about $10, $10. Is $10 possible? I don't really want to ask that because that's not really a really good question, guys. Let's be honest. So
I can't answer that. I can't guarantee you.
Yeah, like Setti can't say, it's going to be $10. He could say it, but I mean, right now we're at 84 cents. So, can it get to $10? I mean, hopefully as an investor, it does for everybody, right? That's all we could say.
Listen, I think once we get the product in market and we're able to show what it is that we can do, and then we get the revenue side as well, and we can demonstrate what the growth potential is on a company like this.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of upside potential, no doubt about it. Is there any filter options you guys are working on? Like filter changes, filter options?
Yes. So
I guess that's a question a lot of cigarette users ask about filters.
So, I mean, there's different types of filters you can use on cigarettes that have different features. We've actually gotten a sample of practically all of them, and we're putting them through some product testing to see which one gives the most favorable result. But yes, absolutely. It's not going to be just a standard filter and cheap cigarette paper and any of that. Like we're going to use more premium stuff that the end consumer will be able to appreciate.
Okay, very good. Crushing? Oh, the crushing filter. Oh, okay, yeah. I think a lot of people are asking about those crushing filters. The one where you press it?
Oh, yeah.
And you squeeze it?
Yeah.
I don't know what it does. But
basically, the way those filters are, I mean, it has a little bead on the inside of the filter. So when you smoke, I mean, you can have it as the regular flavor, or if you want to change the taste, you can just crush it and it'll change the taste.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, you know what? I think that we've got all the questions that we had wanted to have answered. Is there anything else you want anyone that's watching to know about Taat before we say goodbye?
Listen, I appreciate all the support, that I've been able to get. Always happy to chat with you. I think we're well on our way with the product, and I'm really looking forward to showcasing what we can do once we get the product in market, beginning of November.
All right, guys, you're hearing it directly from Setti Coscarella, the CEO of Taat Lifestyle and Wellness. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy your evening. This is Rich from Rich to Be Live with Setti, and we'll see you guys later. Have a nice day.